warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace and blessings be upon you as all, inshallah. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. My name is Bilal Darwish, and you guys have to suffer through me. I will be your MC tonight. This evening, we will begin tonight's event with a short Quran recitation in translation by Brother Razan. Brother Razan, tafadhal.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال كم لبثتم في الأرض عدد سنين قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم فاسأل العادين قال إن لبثتم إلا قليلا لو أنكم كنتم تعلمون أفحسبتم أنما خلقناكم عبثا وأنكم إلينا لا ترجعون فتعالى الله الملك الحق لا إله إلا هو رب العرش الكريم ومن يدع مع الله إلها آخر لا برهان له به فإنما حسابه عند ربه إنه لا يفلح الكافرون وقل رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين صدق الله العظيم. Translation is as follows. Allah will say, how long did you remain on earth in number of years? They will say, we remained a day or part of a day. Ask those who enumerate, count. He will say, you say not but a little, if only you had known. Then did you think that we created you uselessly, and that to us you would not be returned? So exalted is Allah, the Sovereign, the Truth. There is no deity except Him, Lord of the noble throne. And whoever invokes besides Allah another deity for which he has no proof, then his account is only with his Lord. Indeed, the disbelievers will not succeed. And O Muhammad, say, my Lord, forgive and have mercy, and you are the best of the merciful.
Jazakallah khair for that beautiful recitation. Loyola's Muslim Student Association would like to welcome our respected guests and thank you for all joining us this evening. Tonight we'll be engaging in a workshop to develop our purpose. This is our life, our goals, and our vision. This highly interactive workshop is a resource to help people gain more clarity, focus, and efficiency to transform a random existence into satisfying meaning journey that will positively impact their world. As students, not only should we all live a life of purpose, but we should live our lives on purpose. What does that mean? And is there a difference? We each have a unique talent and passions that drive us. Whether one decides on a life of purpose or not does not impact how long one will live, but it will impact the quality of it. It will impact the quality of one's life and the quality of their contributions to society. This workshop, led by Dr. Mohammad Abassi, works to developing self-motivated individuals into leadership, teams committed to work for the common good using his talents in the area of leadership and team building and his passion for Islam. Dr. Mohammad Abassi has had over 10 years of business development experience, emphasis on leadership and team building while coaching, consulting, and training business associates in sales forces nationally for the second largest real estate company in America. Number one.
This is outdated. This is long time ago.
Since you're helping them out, definitely. Prior to that, he has also had over 17 years of sales experience focused on high productivity. While striving to maintain the highest standards of professional ethics and quality of life, he has worked with prestigious companies such as Keller Williams, with which he was awarded a regional franchise to develop their business model in 2000. Mohammad Abassi recruited business entrepreneurs and launched 25 independently owned Keller Williams, 5 independently owned Keller Williams franchises. He has trained, coached, and consulted business owners, team leaders, sales associates in leadership, business development, business finance, life balance, and personal development. Suffice it to say, he knows what he's doing. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Mohammad Abassi.
Assalamu alaikum. How many of you have been to my workshops before? Raise your hand if you've been. Just Amma? Well, Sharifa too, where's my sister Anwar? Okay, so there's 3 of you, alhamdulillah. So just promise to laugh at my jokes. Amma?
No.
Anyway, that was a joke. All right, so people that go to Loyola, what do they call you guys? What is it? Could you have picked an easier name like, I don't know, Columbia? What do they call people that go to Columbia? Colombians. So President Obama went to school where? Come on guys, you should know. Yeah, he went to school in Colombia. So he would be a Colombian. They think he's from Kenya, but he's actually from Colombia. It's supposed to be a joke. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to tell this joke. She said, nobody's going to laugh. I said, I challenge you, they will. All right, so here's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to squeeze a 16-hour workshop in like an hour and a half. It's kind of like putting an elephant into a tutu or something. But we'll do the best we can. If there's something you don't understand, shout, raise your hand, ask, don't worry about it. I know what I'm talking about. I wrote this stuff, so I'm not going to get lost. I'll find my way back. So if there's something you don't understand. So here's the deal. Do we have a... we have a board.
A what?
Okay, a board to write on. Okay, no, I'll throw it there. So here's what I want you to imagine. I want you to imagine that your life looks like this. Like you wake up one day and you say, here are my values. These are going to guide my life, and you decide what they are. These are the important things in my life. And then I'm going to prioritize them really, really good, and then I'm going to focus on them and get the top ones done in time so that I can think right and I can be very productive. And once I'm productive, I'm going to have big results, and then one day I'm going to change the world, and when I die, I will have no regrets. That's basically the track we're going to run on tonight, but I'm going to do it a little slower, okay? Every one of the words that I just mentioned, I can spend a half a day talking about, because it's a big deal. And a lot of people take these words lightly. So we're going to start with the very first one. And before I do that, where's my clicker? Before I do that, I wrote a couple of words that I want to share with you. I wrote them on the airplane coming in this morning. Number one, if you bought a great cookbook, and if you bought the best utensils, like you went to whatever place where they sell the best of the best, does that make you a great cook? The answer is no. This course won't give you a great life. Just as much as the equipment will not make you a great cook, a course like this one or 100 courses like this one by the gurus of the world, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, I don't care who you call on to, is not going to give you a great life. The only way to get a great life is to go out there and live it. I mean live it. Every single day of it. Feel like you are alive. Go out there and try and try and try and fail and succeed. Has anybody ever taken a course in failure? How are you ever going to succeed if you don't fail? Yet nobody teaches failure. So I'm here to tell you that it's okay to fail. It's okay to go out there and try until one day you have a life that you can be proud of, that you will leave this world with no regrets. Can we cut down on the noise a little bit? Please? All right, so I want everybody to focus with me. The second thing is, when you buy a board game, just about every one of us had at some point or another bought a box like this with a little game in it, okay? Give me a name or two. Monopoly. Okay. What else? Chess, whatever. Okay, any one of those games. what do you find in the box? When you open the box, what do you find? What's the first thing you find? There's some parts, right? And there's what else? There's a board, and there is some game parts, you know, whatever it is that you play with. What's missing?
Instruction.
There's instructions. What's missing? With all the stuff we just mentioned, you still can't succeed. What's missing? What's left? I'm looking for one word. Starts with an S.
Start.
Strategy. What's missing is strategy. No, I've never taught her that, so it's new to her. Okay, so basically what life is the board, it's the pieces, it's the parts, it's even the instruction manual. Call it the Quran, call it the Bible, call it the gurus of the world, whatever it is, there's instructions out there. Your parents have given you instructions, the whole world, everybody's telling you what to do. And yet you have to figure out your own strategy. When you're young, you're not allowed to, because you still haven't reached that point where you can make good decisions. So you're supposed to rely on the adults. And under US law, until you're 18, you're not good enough to make any serious decisions. And if you kill somebody, you'll probably get away with it up until 18. After 18, you wake up one day and like, you're smart now. Now you can go out there and drive cars and do whatever you can do, okay? But seriously, life is about this. It's about strategy more than anything else. And most people worry too much about these parts. They don't realize that success is about the strategy, how you go about living your life. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, okay? So here's the track. I drew it in two colors for a reason. This is what sometimes they call in science, they call it the subjective part. This is the objective part. This is the stuff that you don't see. This is the stuff that you see. But can somebody live their life and succeed while only paying attention to the pink without the green or the green without the pink? Take a look. You see, unless you put together these up here, nothing shows up down here. You will have, you will be a legend in your own mind. If all you worry about is self-enrichment and development, and you're constantly tarbiyan yourself. I'm taking an Arab word and making it into English. Okay, you are murabbiyan yourself. It's not working. It's not working. Okay, you are going through all the self-development training and everything in the world, and one day you wake up and like, Eureka, I made it. Now I'm great in my own head. And nothing shows up on the outside. The world doesn't care how much you have on the inside until stuff starts showing up on the outside. The world sees, don't we say alim al-ghayb wa shahada? There's ghayb and there's shahada. Ghayb is what's ghayb, what's out of sight. The metaphysics of the world, the metaphysical part of the world. That's the ghayb. But the world only cares about what it witnesses. And that's the stuff that we are judged upon. We are judged based on what shows up. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's productivity in one form or another. That's how our success or failure is judged. Nobody ever comes and judges you based on your intentions. Except on the day of judgment, Allah does that. But since I don't know your intentions, so I don't really, I can't judge what's going on the inside. So I care about what happens on the outside. So this course, I'm going to try to divide my time equally between the inside and the outside, knowing that neither one can work without the other. You need both. You need to master the game inside of you before something shows up on the outside that you're happy with. Does this sound like a fair deal? Yes, no? Say yes. Yes. Okay. So here's how it goes. The first one that we're going to look at is values. What are values? Give me a definition for values, and don't look at your notes. I gave you this so that you can scribble on them, not so that you can read them. You can read them later on. I know you know how to read. Okay, so when somebody says my values are, and sometimes people say like Christian values, Muslim values, Jewish values, this values, that values. What are they talking about? It's a word that has a meaning, but what does it really mean in lay person? If a 5-year-old asked you, what's values, Sido? What would you say? What would you say?
Not so 5-year-old, but moral guidelines.
No. I hope you're not offended by me telling you that you're wrong. I mean, get over it, okay? I'm like that. I'm going to say it like it is. And don't be afraid that you say something stupid. I mean, that's how we learn. Go ahead. Not you. I mean, everybody. Yeah.
Something that's important to you?
Thank you. Are you reading the notes?
No.
Keep an eye on her. Okay. So here's the deal. Values are those things that are important to you. So when I say my values, it means something important to me. So like I was driving an S8, a BMW S8 with a Lamborghini engine, another BMW, an Audi S8 with a Lamborghini engine. Kids thought that that's a value to me. What they don't know is that my son bought it for me. That I know nothing about cars. When we went to the showroom, he said, Dad, that's a good car. I thought I was buying an A8. I wound up driving a car with 600 horsepower. And the sad part is that everybody that saw me driving that car for 7 years thought that it's actually a value to me. What they don't know is that I could care less. And I actually just sold it and bought a 4-cylinder Subaru or something, and a Forester, I don't know what it is. Yeah, that one. So the point is a car important to me? No. I need a car that takes me from one place to the other. That's all. For somebody, I know some people that spend half of their Sunday just polishing the wheels on their cars. Now, is that important to that person, yes or no? It's a value. Now, somebody may think that's stupid, but not to that person, because that person says, that's important to me, my car is more important than my mother. That's him, okay? There are people like that. So when we say my values are, all you're saying in plain English, you're saying, this is important to me. And here's the thing. You can allow the world to arrange your values and to tell you what they are, or you can make a decision and decide what they are. Now, in the consumer society that we live, the world of consumerism, does the world allow you to make up your mind about what's important or not?
No.
Don't they try to sell you on stuff that you don't even have, and make you wish that you had it, and you don't even know what it is? It's like there's something I want, I don't know what it is, but I do know for sure that I don't have it. And people are always chasing values that they don't even care about, but because somebody else tells them what they are. So success in life starts with you deciding, I'm going to decide what my values are, rather than have somebody else do it to you. Now we Muslims have been given a break. The Quran told us what number 2 and number 1 are, and I'll talk about them in a second. We have to figure out 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7. Okay? So in a moment I'm going to quiz you and see if you know what number 1 and 2 is. But the definition of values is simply those things that are important to you. Okay? And the question that I just tackled is, where do they come from? Where do our values come from? Okay? It's very simple. The first source is your parents. Okay? My wife was talking to my daughter about like some food that she may have said throw it away or it's not good or something. My granddaughter is 3 years old. She said, it's haram to throw away food, Grandma. So to her, it's wrong to throw away food. She has already started at age 3 knowing that throwing away food is bad, because food is a value. It's important. So even a 3-year-old can know what's right and what's wrong and what's valued and what's not. Okay? It starts at a very, very young age. Siblings. A 2-year-old learns from a 3-year-old. I mean, at that age, my granddaughters are learning from each other. Teachers, faith. Dangerous thing here is that if there is a line between what happens here and what happens here, you get what's called the burnt child syndrome. When you have anybody who's studying education here, okay, have you heard the expression burnt child syndrome? You're going to come into it. It's basically that the child is getting conflicting signals from 2 different directions. So the parents at home are teaching something, and then in school they're teaching something else. Caillou on television, somebody knows what Caillou is? You know? Okay, good. I'm a grandfather, you have to know what Caillou is. It's a babysitter. It's a mechanical babysitter. So anyway, the Caillou teaches my granddaughter things that are different from what my daughter is teaching her daughter. She has to be careful because Caillou should not be raising her kids. She should raise her kids, and Caillou sentenced to stay as Caillou, not as their second mother, okay? But that's what happens. Other sources, TV, by the way, there's actually, on a serious note, there's a book written by a child psychologist working with a parent who happens to be an author and a writer. And I forgot their names, both of them, but I know the name of the book. The book is called Hold On to Your Kids. Hold On to Your Kids. And it's a very, very important book. It's making the circles, and a lot of parents are reading it because it teaches them how to combat that avalanche of lateral forces that are trying to take your kids away from you. That are selling them a bill of goods about what's important, what values is, and what values aren't. Okay, that's how serious it is. And the others are not even Muslims. I mean, this is a problem that afflicts every segment of the society, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. Okay. So where do values come from? TV, Facebook, Twitter, everything. I mean, here's the thing. At the end of the day, the most important thing is to know what is the most important thing. That's the highest value. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about values. Here's some examples. Spiritual life. Why is it important? Because it pleases God. Because it makes me feel good. Family. That's where I get love and care. I mean, you can go through this exercise. Healthy, stress-free life. It's pain-free life. I see people who are younger than me. Okay, last night we got word at 10 o'clock that one of my cousins who's 35 dropped dead from a heart attack. I'm not kidding you. 35, not even 36 yet. There are young people in their 30s dropping dead from coronary heart failures and diseases and all kinds of things. So if health is not high up on your value, just think again. That should be a value for everybody, whether whether you have hereditary diseases in the family or not. That's something we want to pay attention to. Education. Somebody said education is expensive. Try ignorance. It's a lot more expensive. Success is helping others. That's supposed to be a joke. You guys are still at this. What time is it here in Chicago? Okay. I left the house at 5 o'clock this morning. I'm still thinking. Money is important. Why is money important? Come on, guys. Give me an answer here.
So you can eat.
Don't look. He's cheating. Okay. Because it gives you security, because you can buy stuff with it, because you can help people, because of a million things. Ask somebody who's got money, they'll tell you. Freedom, why is that important? It gives you dignity. One sister told me, you know her, Asma. She went to her ancestral home country, wherever her parents come from. She said, well, like the moment you land in the airport, you feel like you take off your dignity like you take off a jacket. It's like no respect, no nothing. It's like now you're just a number. You know, any little tiny soldier can slap your arm and tell you everything, and you can't say or do a thing about it. So is freedom important? Doesn't New Hampshire have a license plate that says live free or die? Yes or no? You've probably never seen a New Hampshire. They don't come here, right? It's too far. Yeah, it's too far. But in New Hampshire, they actually have that. They have a license plate that says live free or die. Okay? And that's an Islamic principle, by the way. We can talk about it some other time. Patience is important because it leads to achievement. Some of the highest achievers in the world are people who have patience, who are willing to go through the grueling years of studying year after year after year. All of a sudden, they're on CNN, talking about world problems and solving world problems. You say, oh, how did that happen? Well, the past 12 years while you're, wasting time, this person was getting 2 PhDs, one in science and one in something else. It takes patience. It takes hard work. Sacrifice is important because you gain. Society gains. Everybody gains. Every one of these you can write a book about each one and why it's important. President Clinton just wrote a book on giving, just on why giving is important. An entire book listed on why it's important. Anyway, so let's talk about beliefs for a second. Beliefs, here's where people really get messed up. Ready for this? They confuse beliefs with values. What the sister said earlier was correct, but she was describing beliefs. We confuse beliefs, and this is very common, by the way. We confuse beliefs with values. Values are simply those things that are important. Beliefs are the rules of the game. They are what we believe to be true about things. Like I believe that the sun will rise tomorrow. That's a belief. Okay? Somebody can challenge that, and that's fine, but that's still my belief. Okay? It's a universal belief. I believe that if I invest time in sharing these thoughts with you, that some of you are going to click and they're going to go on and do something with their lives. I don't know what the percentage is, but I always get feedback years later, wallahi sometimes 10 years later. I have people writing me or meeting me and saying, I attended your training on such and such subject in Detroit or here or there so many years ago, and here's what it did to me. That makes me feel good. Okay, so this is why I leave my granddaughters and I come here. Otherwise, I'd be hanging out with my granddaughters now. Believe me, it's a lot more fun than hanging out with you. But that's fine. Okay, so beliefs. No, seriously. I mean, you've seen me. So the beliefs are the rules of the game. And here's the thing. Your belief set, your belief system is kind of like a shield that protects your heart from every salesman who's trying to sell you on a bill of goods out there somewhere. Everybody's trying to sell you on something, trying to make something a value to you. Whether it's a physical thing they're trying to sell you, or an idea, or the thought, or the Hare Krishna is trying to get you to change religion, or whatever it is, somebody's trying to get you to do something, right? Your beliefs are your first protection against people trying to sell you a bill of goods. So the stronger, the thicker that you make your beliefs, and the more grounded they are in truth and in facts, the better off you are. If your beliefs are simply fads, you wake up one day and you believe something, and the next day it's something else, and every day you're jumping from one thing to the other, anybody can hijack your mind and heart, and next thing you know, you're like a feather in the wind, as they say. You're in the fire. So this is extremely important. Just as important as the beliefs are, the values are, the beliefs are even more important. We have the concept of aqidah in Islam, or the creed. The aqidah is nothing more than those beliefs that you are so sure about, that are inculcated in you so hard, so deep in your heart, that they will not go back to the brain to check and see if they're right or wrong. It's like when I say God is one. To me, that's not for discussion. I'm done with that. I had that discussion with myself and with the world many, many, many years ago, and I'm done with it. Let's go to the next one, and the third one, and so on. So what is your creed? What do you believe through so much that nothing will change? Will change it. You've got to figure those out. That's your foundation. And many times people are very democratic. They got about a whole bunch of beliefs, and they're like shuffle them around, and they assign different values and priorities to them. It doesn't work like that. There cannot be. This is not an issue that is subject to democratic considerations. There's no equality. Some have to be core beliefs. You hear the concept core belief? Let me take it one step further. A core belief is something that shows up in everything you do. It reflects on everything that you do in your life. Okay? It doesn't show up one day and then, if you say, for instance, I'm a Muslim, done. That's it. Every aspect of your behavior has to somehow reflect that. If you say, I'm Christian, if you say, whatever it is that you believe defines you, it has to show up. If it doesn't show up, it's not a core belief, it's something else. That's basically it. So our beliefs are not democratic, they're not all equal, some of them are deeper than others. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter what your values are and what your beliefs are until you prioritize them. So two sets of people, or two individuals, can have the same set of beliefs. You and I can both have the same set of beliefs, or values. My values are, for instance, God, family, and business. Those three. And you may say to me, same here, God, family, and business. And then I say, well, what do you dedicate most of your energy to? And you say, my family. Then if I have time, I'll pray. Well then, see, that's a difference, because we've just prioritized them differently. Somebody else says, businessman, I spend 18 hours at work because I got to take care of my family, and then whatever's left, I send to God in the way of charity or something. Okay, so you got business first, and they philosophize it. Business first, then family second, God third, and so on. And sometimes people lie. They say, my family is like number one or number two, and then they spend like 20 hours at work. There's a problem there. If your family is number one, why is it that when you sit at the dinner table, your kids don't recognize it? It's been gone so long, they say, Mom, who's the bald guy at the table? You say, that's your father. It's been gone so long, you don't even recognize it no more. That's a joke. You guys are small. Okay. I'm going to stop telling jokes. I'm going to get serious now. So prioritizing is nothing more than our values in an order of priority. And by the way, here's where you start taking control of your life. is by choosing how to prioritize your values. The world tries to set them up for you in a certain way, and you get to say, nope, I actually like it the other way better. So anyone who thinks that you have no control over what happens to you or what happens in your life, take a second look at this. Because this tells you that you're wrong. That you actually have a level of control, you have leverage, you have the ability to decide where to spend your time and your energy. A parent can choose to spend less hours. Has anybody seen the movie One Fine Day with Michelle Pfeiffer and George Clooney? Am I too old here or what? I mean, the movie is like from only a few years ago. Anyway, Michelle Pfeiffer is like an architect and she's designing buildings and everything. And her boss takes her to make a presentation to some Japanese businessmen who are about to build this $200 million building in Tokyo. And they're talking and everything. And while she's doing all of that, George Clooney, whom she ran into, he has a baby, she has a baby, they're all in the same babysitting club and all that stuff. Next thing you know, he brings her baby and her baby's standing behind the window while she's having dinner with these strangers and he's like making faces and everything. And then at one point she says, you know what, I quit. She drops everything and her boss is like, what do you mean you're quitting? She says, you see that? That's more important than you and your business and all this stupid architecture. She gets up and walks. Every single one of us should have a moment like that in your life, in our lives. Every single one of us has to someday come to the realization that the way my priorities are stacked, my values are stacked and prioritized, is wrong. And I get to choose how to make 1 into 2 and 2 into 1 and 3 into 2. That's what it means to be a human being and to live. Otherwise, you are just another creature crawling on earth. Not adding, not subtracting, just being there. You have to take control. And I'm passionate about this because I'm sick and tired. Let me tell you something. Before I retired, I was in charge of the lives of 2,600 people. Okay? Don't feel sorry for me. The company now has 4,000, so they did much better without me. That's supposed to be another joke. Okay, so I thought I was doing great. I put somebody in charge and I retired and I came to spend time with you guys and the company doubled in size since I left it. But while I was in it, I was worried, I was sick about the lives of 2,600 people who have families, trying to help them out. And many of them would come in whining and complaining about how bad is the market and how they're broke and how they can't make ends meet. And I'm like, I feel like I want to slap them like right and left and say, get up and go out there, make a difference in your own life. This is how you do it. You wake up one day and you decide that picking up the phone, making some client calls, or whatever it is you do is much more important than sleeping 2 extra hours in the morning. While you're sleeping, somebody else already contacted 20 clients and probably made $10,000 and you're sleeping here because last night you were watching TV, the CMA Awards or whatever until 2 o'clock in the morning. Some of you were watching last night, I can tell. Okay, because you have to sleep. Okay, so priorities change with time. So if I asked every single one of you here, what is your top priority, where you are and as you are right now? I hope that you all agree that on one at least. Can you guess what that is? What is it?
God.
Yeah, but I'm talking about you here in this room. Not your parents, not your... I'm talking about you. What are you here? What's the one thing in common here?
School.
You're all students, so what's important to students?
Education.
It better be. Otherwise, your parents are wasting their money. Right or wrong? So that gets to be there. Whether you like it or not, it's there because you're a student. But as soon as you graduate, and let's say some of you get married and all of a sudden you have 2 bambinos. No, now what's the most important thing? What's the most important thing now? Come on, tell me. Look, I raised 4 and I have 4 grandchildren. There's like 8 of them. Every one of them reminds me of what? You gotta go out there and make money. So now all of a sudden, whether you like it or not, all of a sudden you realize that it's important to do what? To work. So now work becomes a priority, yes or no? Becomes a value, yes or no? So do they change with time, yes or no?
Yes.
So don't think that you're going to come up with a list and it's going to work good for you until you're 99. It doesn't work like that. You have to constantly keep looking at this and keep evaluating your life. My suggestion is do it once a year. While people are writing their, whatever they call it, their year-end, what do they call it? Resolutions, yeah. Instead of doing resolutions, sit there and ask yourself and say, do I need to make any adjustment to how I spend my days and my weeks and my time? And sometimes you have to ask that question, sometimes you don't. It just shows up. You know, a child just shows up. And every day reminds you that you're now a parent and you have to buy Pampers and stuff like that, right? So these things change. Here's what John Maxwell says. Does anybody know who John Maxwell is? Okay, you do. But somebody who never attended my classes. What do you know about John Maxwell, sister? In the back. It's not a trick question. I mean, okay, you've heard the name, right? Yeah, he wrote 34 books on leadership and management and life and all those things. He has 2 million students worldwide in an organization called Enjoy, a non-profit organization. Many of his students are prime ministers of nations. Okay? And I'm one of his students. I sat with him in a room like this, and I learned from him directly, from his mouth to my ear. John Maxwell taught me this years ago, this one, that prioritizing is the key to leadership. You can never lead if you don't know how to prioritize. And by the way, leadership is not about others. Sometimes self-leadership is just as important as leading others. I teach a whole day's course just on leadership. And when people attend, I tell them, if you forget everything I talk about all day long, I want you to walk away learning a few things. One of them is this one, that you cannot be a leader unless you learn how to prioritize. So, guess what? Better start learning how to prioritize. Especially those abstract things like time. Thank God there's clocks and watches, right? Otherwise we wouldn't know. But you need to start prioritizing your energy. At lunchtime we were talking, or dinner. What was that, lunch or dinner in Chicago? Yeah, we have lunch. Yeah, it's in between. We were having deep dish pizza. For me, it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for one slice. Enough. You have one of those, and we were talking about. What were we talking about? Time management. They asked me about time management, and I'm like, it's all about energy management, not time management. These are abstract concepts that are hard to get grasp of, and unless you start practicing from now, one day you'll wake up and realize that you didn't learn all the important things you need to learn to succeed in life. One of them is how to prioritize your day, how to prioritize your time, how to prioritize your energy, how to spend your energy. The Prophet ﷺ says to us, بُورِكَ لِأُمَّتِي فِي بُكُورِهَا. The most blessed time of the day is the early part of the day. I know one young man who is Harvard bound. He just got his MBA from Wharton and he's doing a PhD in Harvard. I asked him, I said, how do you manage your day? He said, oh, it's very easy. By the time people are having breakfast, I'm done. He wakes up at 4 or 5 in the morning and he takes advantage of that early part of the day when there's no distractions, no phone, no tweeting, no nothing, none of that stuff, no Facebooking. Is that a verb? And then he says, by 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm very much done. He said, from then on, I can mess around as much as I want. And people think that I'm goofing, but I'm already ahead of the game. It's called energy management. That's another subject. But you got to prioritize everything. By the way, you know what somebody's priorities are from their behavior, from their appearance, from everything. If you see me always dressed in fashion and clothes the way that a lot of people, like my kids cringe when they see me. They're like, Dad, I would never dress like that. I'm like, I could care less. It's me. So to me, like, if you watch me dressed the way would you at one day deduce that maybe this guy likes his clothes? So no. Okay, and if you see somebody driving fast cars all the time, would you say, or talking about fast cars? So our behavior exposes our priorities. Is it important that our priorities are exposed? No, but don't try to hide it. Don't try to be somebody you're not. If you care about something, it's going to show up. And how you run your life is going to show up. So, let's say that we figure out what our values are and we prioritize them. What do you think is next? Focus is a real big problem. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where this thing that's happening in your head starts showing up in your behavior. Okay? Because up until now, it's a conversation with yourself. And if you're speaking out loud, somebody's listening, right? Usually nobody's listening. They think you're a dreamer. But then when you start focusing, the world notices. It's like, what's wrong with him? He's focusing. Okay? So there's a serious problem with focus, and here it is. The first thing that you want to realize about focus, let's skip this one. This is right out of Stephen Covey's book, First Things First. It says that in life, what we do is divide it into 4 things: urgent, important, urgent, not important, not urgent, not important, and all this stuff here. And the most successful people are the people that are constantly working on in which quadrant? Give me an idea.
Urgent, not important.
The majority of your time should be where? In which quadrant?
Urgent, not important.
This one?
No.
This one? This one? This one? The most successful people, companies, businesses, entrepreneurs are people who spend most of their time here. This is you changing the oil every 3,000 miles. This is you, the smoke is coming out from under the hood. And you're like, what's going on with the car? Oh, when was the last time you changed oil? What's oil? That's what the Arabs sell us. No, it's what you're supposed to put in your car so that it doesn't smoke. Okay? They burn the engine. That's what this is. This is like you exercising. This is like you having a coronary or a heart attack at 35. That's what these are. Okay? Anyway. And there's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says basically, don't get distracted. He says in this hadith that anyone who allows himself to be distracted, got the careless, in which valley he perishes. This is just to teach us to be focused. Okay? You can read it and understand it later on. I'm just going to move on because we're in time. Focus. Here's the problem with focus. Focus feels rude. You see this right here in school. If one of the students who attended this class today has a click, he goes out there and grabs a book and is reading, the click comes in and they look at it and say, what's wrong with him? And he's like, what's wrong? Nothing wrong. I mean, she hasn't been smiling or laughing or what's wrong with him? What's wrong with... And it's nothing wrong. It's just that you're focused. And as soon as you're focused, especially if you're somebody who's used to being goofy and loosey-goosey and always, jumping all over the place and doing all kinds of things for everybody and, let's go hang out. You want to go to the bathroom? I want to go to the bathroom. Let's go to the bathroom. Sisters know that joke very, very well. Sisters don't go to the bathroom alone. They go together with 5 others. Okay, so whatever it is that you do that distracts you, some of us are masters at distractions, right? And then all of a sudden one day they attend a workshop that says there's virtue and focus, your weight success has to go through, some focusing and channeling, energy and all that. And you say, okay, so I'm going to focus. So you sit there and you're focused, and you lose half of your friends. They think that there's something wrong with you. So I don't know what's wrong with it. There's nothing wrong. I'm just focused. So that's the first problem you have to deal with. And you have to be willing to follow the following couple of rules in addition to being willing to put up with the appearance of being rude. You have to deal with a couple of other things. Number one, you have to realize that until number one is accomplished, number two is a distraction. I get a lot of requests to teach time management. And I tell people, there's nothing to manage here. You manage your energy, fine. Oh, but there's tasks to be done. Okay, so like how many things do you want to do? Oh, a whole lot of things. Okay, make a list. So then make a list, and it's got like a gazillion things on it. The first thing you need to do is to follow the Pareto rule, which is the 80-20 thing. Okay? 80% of the stuff on it will probably never get done anyway. And it's probably not important, and the world wouldn't notice whether you did it or not. So you need to be able to weed out the weeds. It's like weeds. Okay? Not weed that people smoke. Weeds, that grow in the ground. So you got to weed out all the stuff that's not important. Well, how do you do that? There's an exercise that I do, like when I have a whole day to teach this course. I make people do an exercise which is very simple. You take like a piece of paper and you write 50 things or 100 things that you want to do, okay? And then you cut it up. You leave just one word on each piece of paper. So you cut it up into like 100 pieces of paper. Let's say there's 100 things that need to get done. So you break it into 100 pieces of paper. And then what you do is you separate them into top 50 and bottom 50. Is it difficult to separate 100 into top 50 and bottom 50? Is that difficult? Should be easy, right? So it's like right, left, right, left, right, left. Now take the top 50, the important ones, and break them again into 25 and 25. Okay? So now you got the top 25%. Get rid of 5 more, and now you got your 80% and 20%. That's like the quickest way to do it. Once you decide what your top 20% is, now it's so much easier to pick the top 3 or 4 that must get done. The absolute musts. Okay? And the way you do it is, again, you take the 20 and you break them into 10 and 10, and then 5 and 5. Boom, now you got yourself 5. Do you honestly need a piece of paper to write 5 things? Couldn't you guys remember 4 or 5 things that need to get done? So what about this thing with like a to-do list? Why are people always worried and always carrying around a piece of paper with stuff written on it that never gets done anyway? Because there's always more stuff being dumped on it. So my advice to people that come to the workshop is, look, decide on the top 3 to 4 things that you want to do, and do them. Much better than to have a list of 100 and do 3 out of 100 that may not even be in the top of the list. That may be the most convenient or the easiest or the ones that you like. How you start, but how do you start your day makes a big difference. John Maxwell, the guy I just told you about, we asked him this question, just like I'm sitting with you here. John, how do you manage your day? He said it's very simple. So when I wake up in the morning, I ask myself one question. If there's one thing that I could do today that my day would be awesome, that I would feel that this day was a great day, what would that thing be? One thing, just one thing. He said, I won't quit until I decide what that one thing is. He said, I put it down. And then I asked myself, if there's time left to do just one more thing, what would that be? That's another way of approaching your top list. He says, I put that down. Then I ask myself one more time, I come up with 3 things, and then I start working on it. And here's the next rule. I learned this from our chairman, the guy, my mentor. He said, until number 1 is done, number 2 is a distraction. And if I catch you working on number 2, it's no longer number 2. We're going to call it the new number 1, and number 1 now gets to be called something else. Otherwise, you're cheating yourself. Why are you calling it number 2 and you're working on it before you're done with number 1? It's the new number 1 now. So these are simple little tricks, but believe me, it makes a huge difference. I'm talking about the difference between somebody, listen to this, between somebody making $1 million a year and somebody making $20,000 a year. That's how much of a difference it used to make. When I had both of them working for me. I had a guy make $1.2 million, and he only had a high school diploma. But he knew how to manage his day, how to manage his time, how to manage his energy. That guy was making easily $1 million, $1.2 million a year as a salesman. And I have others with master's degrees in business, MBAs and everything, and they could hardly eat because they didn't master these simple little tricks that I'm sharing with you today. So this is like these are the habits. You may want to pick up a book by Robert Ringer called $1 Million Habits. Just jot it down. It's the first book our chairman ever gave me back in '99. He said, don't do or read anything else until you read this book. It's called $1 Million Habits, and the name of the author is Robert Ringer. Okay? Ringer, R-I-N-G-E-R. Focus is the son of the Prophet, and it gives you clarity and power. And it means that you have to learn how to say no. Most of us are too polite to say no. We were discussing this at lunch. The world has a tendency to ask you to do favors. Can you do me a favor? Can you do this? Can you do this? And we have a serious hard time. A lot of us who are raised in the East, especially in traditional families, we have a hard time saying no to people. We think that it's like haram or something. Or it's like we're sinning by saying no to somebody. We don't realize that the Prophet ﷺ himself, his time was managed, and his time was divided and segmented. There was time for the community, there was time for his family, there was time for prayer, and it's all explained in full detail in Zad al-Ma'ad, if you will. Go read Zad al-Ma'ad, Ibn Qayyim's book, and you'll see how he is segmented this time. Okay? How are we doing? Too fast, too slow, just right? The speed is good? By the way, in Texas, when I speak like this, they say, slow down. We don't hear you fast enough. Once I spoke for 10 minutes, I realized that nobody knew a word that I said. I thought it was my accent. Turned out I was speaking too fast for them. They couldn't hear me fast enough. So I had to rewind, like start over. It's crazy. Okay. Here's the dilemma. That there's so much to do. There's always this dilemma that there's so much to do, so much to have, and so much to know. Do you guys feel that way sometimes?
Yes.
At some point in your life, when you have to work, but you still love, like me, I like reading a lot. So I want to work, but I also want to read. But I also, at some point, I wanted to work before I retired. So my time is divided between all 3 of them. And at one point, you're going to discover that if you allow one of these circles to grow, it's going to grow at the expense of the others. And your life, it's like this prism here. you get to superimpose it on these three values, and you will only walk away with this little dark area here. In other words, there's only so much you can understand. You don't have to, I have like 8,000 books on my iPad. You honestly think I'm going to be able to read all of them? Most of them I use as references, but I have no illusion that I'm not going to be, if I read that with the speed of light, I'm still not going to be able to read. So there's a limit to how much I know, and I know that. I have to focus my learning process on this, not the whole thing. The whole thing is a lot. Same thing with habit. I quit working in 2009 because I realized that this is like drinking salty water. With making money and working, you'll never be satisfied. There's always more to get. And how much more do you want to get? Like, do you sleep in multiple bedrooms? Can you drive more than one car? Can you eat more than a cow a day or something? There's a limit to how much we can eat and drink, and so one reaches a point where an extra 1,000 or million or what, it really honestly doesn't make a difference. And very few people realize that. There's a lot of people that wake up dead. That's an oxymoron. Some of you. Anybody get it? No? Go back and rewind the tape and you'll get it. I mean, seriously, there are some people that wake up one day only to realize that life has gone by, and that they missed out on birthdays, they missed out on all the fun stuff. The kids are grown and they're done, and thank God my wife and I were very involved in raising our kids. They're all married and out. My youngest daughter just booted her out. Well, no, she got married. And she's out now. It's just me and my wife running around after each other in the house with no kids around. And it's fun, but no regrets, because I'll tell you what, we were there. We were there. I remember the first time my son had his first haircut. I remember the other one when he had his first visit to the dentist. I was there with the camera to shoot him. I was a photo buff, and I used to take photos and everything. I got everything to prove it. Okay, so no regrets, alhamdulillah. But there's a lot of people that wake up one day and life has gone by, and they missed out on everything. So this is very important, and you need to resolve this in your own life. You cannot allow any one of these to take over the other two, otherwise you will have regrets. And I heard someone say once, on my deathbed, I don't want to have any regrets. That's a nice goal to have. Okay, no regrets. All right, after you focus and after you put up, by the way, what's the quickest way to get rid of this thing about people thinking that you're obnoxious and rude because you're focused? What's the best way to get rid of that?
Smile.
Just smile. It's the sunnah of the Prophet. Smile. A smile in the face of your brother or sister is a sadaqah, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a charity. It's an act of charity. I don't know about other religions, but I think we're the only religion that says your smile is a charity. It's an act of charity. It doesn't cost anything. Just you move the muscles a little bit, stretch like that, and it works. Okay? Practice. Like sometimes, once I was giving khutbah Jummah, I was giving a Jummah speech, and there's like a couple of thousand people in the room. And I got up on the minbar, and I'm looking at them, and it looks like there was some big thing, like an attack on Gaza or something big going on. So I'm looking at them. Everybody looked like they just lost a cousin, or maybe even a parent or something. I looked at them, and I'm like, I started with the hadith. I'm like, Rasulullah ﷺ said, the Prophet said, a smile in the face of your brother is sadaqah. Like, can you show me a smile or something? Like, cheer up, guys. What's wrong? Did anybody die? And that's how I started my khutbah. And everybody loosened up a little bit, and then I went on to finish. Because this is not who we are. Well, we're an ummah that when things are bad that are happening, we consider it a message from God to behave ourselves. And when something good is happening, we say, Alhamdulillah, and we move on and we keep going. And that, everything that happens to you as a believer is good for you. If it's good, it's an opportunity to be thankful and grateful. And if it's bad, it's an opportunity to repent and get back on track. Whoa, that's nice. I don't know how people can't figure that out. Okay, so focus. What does focus do? When you're focused, here's what happens. Focus means you have to have a list. It may not be on a paper. It may be a mental list. And that mental list is like prioritized, as we said earlier, and you get to look at number one a lot. If you're not focused. So focusing means that you figured out your values, right? And then what do you do with them? You prioritize them, right? And after you prioritize them, what do? You put it on a piece of paper and you hide it somewhere?
No.
Okay, so I know some people put it on the mirror, some people put it on the dashboard, some people. Okay, so that's your priority list. What's the idea from it? What are you supposed to do with it? Guys, what do you do with your priority list? Yeah, I mean, look, if you decided one day that from now on, I'm going to exercise every single day, right? You made that decision. Okay. How many of you would immediately go like on Google and Google like health and fitness? And then like books on health on books. You know, people who lost a lot of weight, people who gained a lot of weight, and then like all of a sudden you got like books and videotapes and clips and this and that. You go hire a coach and everything, right? That's what happens. When you make something a priority, it's supposed to make a change in how you live. If it's not making a change in how you live and what you do, then it's really not, you're just kidding yourself. It should make a difference. So the first station after you make that decision is your mind. Your mind gets busy. It starts saying to you, hey, so you want to lose weight. How are you going to lose weight? There's all kinds of ways to lose weight. Well, I mean, you can run, you can jog, you can do this, you can do that, you can hire a coach, you can spend money, you can go to the club. There's all kinds of things you can do. So your mind is now working, trying to tell you what to do. So that's what happens here. You start thinking. Thank God for that. And do you realize that this is like the one thing that puts us 1 degree above the animals? Because many times they know what they're doing. They just don't know why. They're run by fitra. Okay, we get to make that decision. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, because even though with our mind we still do a lot of bad things. The Quran holds you responsible for your thoughts. The Quran says that when you're punished on the Day of Judgment, if you're a sinner, that the first thing that would be punished is the forelobe, which is those people who study neurology will tell you that the decision-making part of the brain is this part right here. The frontal lobe, I think they call it. It has all kinds of names. Any neurologist here, or any neurotics? That's another word. Okay. I'm just joking. Okay. So that's what the ayah says. It says basically right here is where all the sinning takes place. This part of the brain. Okay. Let's move on. This is Jack Canfield. This is the guy that wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul. I think he got it from Deepak Chopra. He says that there's 60,000 thoughts that crosses our mind every day. I don't know how they counted them. I think they just sat there and checked the neurons going back and forth. I don't know how they did it. But they're like a lot of thoughts, but most of them are just either negative or repeated thoughts from yesterday. There's hardly anything new. Okay? And that's unfortunately what a lot of us do. But I want to shock you and share something with you in a moment. Look at this. I'm going to go to the next one. Here it is. In Arabic, these are the 3 most famous names of the brain. Okay? Here they are. One is al-aql, from aqala ya'qalu. Believe it or not, it means to tie. Aqala means to tie. Beautiful. Huh? Right or wrong? العرب لا نفهم. Okay? Then the next one is النهى. إن في ذلك الآيات الأولي النهى from نهى ينهى, which means to forbid. So a parent, when a mother tells her child not to do something, that's called nahi. He says, don't do that. That's naha. Naha yanha. That's the word naha or nuha. And then the last one is hijr. ليس في ذلك القسم الذي حجر. Hijr is one of the names of the brain, but it also means quarantine. It means to isolate and to quarantine. So here are the 3 most popular names of the brain in the Quran. All of them indicate that the number 1 and most responsible duty of the brain is to stop you from doing stupid things. And by the way, some of the most recent science into behavioral science, attributed to Daniel Goleman, and you can research it under emotional intelligence, or EQ. Daniel Goleman is a professor at my university. 20 years ago, he wrote a book called Emotional Intelligence. And later on, he followed it with several other books. There's one called Working with Emotional Intelligence, Primal Leadership, and on and on. And all of it revolves around this one concept, which is the ability of the brain to stop you from doing stupid things. He considers that to be a highly emotional, intelligent person. In other words, somebody who can suppress his emotions and allow his brain to control rather than the other way around. Okay? A little bit more on this in a second. Let's move on. I wrote this on the plane today, and it connects with the other one. That you don't have this. You can write it down. You don't have it on your paper. You can scribble it somewhere. This is the methodology that we use to teach new concepts to people, workers and people. It's called the CAP. It's a very famous concept. Knowledge, attitude, and practice. The first thing you do is you start with the brain. You give people mental, cerebral data, facts, information. Even if it's a child, you will teach the child how to brush their teeth. You show them pictures of bad teeth, and you say your teeth will be like that if you don't brush your teeth. You're just giving them information by way of picture or a clip or Caillou or whatever. You get the point across. So how much somebody can handle, that's what you give them. Enough to make them change their attitude about this specific thing. So notice how we went from the brain to where? Okay, where do attitudes happen? Is that a mental thing or an emotional thing? So you see, action starts. Sheikh Sha'rawi says, كل عمل ابن آدم كل عمل الجوارح منبعه القلب. The source of action is actually the heart. They say so-and-so has a big heart or has a heart. So no matter how much your mind tells you need to do something, I've trained salespeople, thousands of them, all over the country and in Canada. Thousands. Last class I had in Denver in 2009, I had 400 people in the room. And what I used to teach is that, hey, it's not about how much you know, about how much money you're going to make if you made a sale. It's about how strong your heart is and how willing you are to accept rejection. You pick up the phone, call somebody and offer them a service. How many times will you be willing to put up with a no before you quit? Most of the things we want to do that we don't do is because our heart is weak. It's because we don't have the willpower. The willpower falls somewhere in between thoughts and feelings. But until we are confident enough and competent enough, but also we have right here, we have the feeling I can get this done, nothing ever gets done. If you want to train somebody to do something, follow CAP. Once the attitude changes, just give the baby the toothbrush and put some toothpaste on it and watch them go like every single day. They'll even ask you, say, Grandpa, can I have my toothbrush? Because you're past the attitude part, you're past the thoughts part. Okay? So the brain is an extremely important part. And what's interesting is that a lot of people up until recently thought that this arrow only goes one way. That your thoughts control your feelings. So I used to even run an exercise. I used to say to people in the class, close your eyes, and I want you to close your eyes, be quiet, dim the light, really, really quiet. And I want you to think about the sad, sad thing that happened to you in your life. Give people 1 minute, they'll be sobbing. I mean, it's so easy to depress the heck out of yourself. All you have to do is just think negative thoughts, think bad thoughts. And the exact opposite is true. If somebody's in a bad mood, first of all, in Islam, the Prophet teaches us that if you're in a really, really fouled up mood, change your physiology. They say change your physiology, change your psychology. In other words, if you're laying down, get up. If you're standing, walk. If you're walking, run. Get those endorphins running. Do something. Tony Robbins does that. He makes people get up and walk on charcoal, on burning coal, and he makes them jump, and he makes them do things. The whole idea is to get your body moving. Your physiology changes your psychology. I have a relative of mine who's lost. The point I'm trying to tell you guys is that these two, the relationship between them is evolving. It's being studied as we speak. This is cutting edge stuff that talks about how important is the interaction between the mind and the heart, the emotional side and the mental side. Your thoughts can change your feelings, but your feelings can change your thoughts. Right now, we heard noise, and I opened the door, and there was like a big lion. Roar, started roaring. But I said, that's a big cat that eats people like me. I should run. I'm scared, right? That's how it goes? Or do you just take off? Right, somebody, God forbid, not here, somebody blew a bomb. You hear like a huge explosion. What do? Do you actually stand there and think and say, that's 2 decibels higher than what I'm used to, so I think I should run. Hey, wallahi, this happened to us. My wife and I went to the mall. We walk a lot, okay? Not because I'm constipated, it's just so I love to walk. So my wife and I went to the mall, we're walking, and as we were walking, we wanted to go to the car and go home, right? As we made a turn, we were at Macy's, we were making a turn in the mall, New Jersey. It was on the news. Not that my wife and I were there, the event that I'm going to describe now. So we made a turn, and next thing you know, we see a whole bunch of kids, like in their teens, running in our direction. And all of a sudden you hear them saying something, and I didn't comprehend what they were saying. I thought they were just goofing. And my wife said, "You hear what they're saying?" I'm like, "What are they saying?" And then all of a sudden I hear, pow, pow, pow. It was like 4 shots. And they were saying, a shooter, a shooter. And there was a shooter. A young man from Teaneck, New Jersey, a block away from where I live, went to the mall, took his gun, started shooting, and everybody thought he was going to shoot them, and then he shot himself and died. Right there and then. Now, the moment I hear the word shooter, and I realized what was going on, what do you think happened? I was in the parking lot, my wife was still in the mall. You think I'm going to think? I was like, I ran in the nearest door, and then I started like, oh, my wife, where is she? Come right over. Why do you leave me? Okay, you see what happens? So don't tell me that thoughts don't control the mind or the mind. Hey, the way these things work with each other, it's not funny. The question is, which one is in control most of the time? If you allow your temptations, your heart, your whatever it is that you love and like, it could be an addiction, it could be food, it could be a boy, a girl, it could be movies, it could be, I don't know what it is. But if you allow that to take over your life, you got a problem. At some point, your brain needs to kick in, and that's called emotional intelligence in today's language. Your brain needs to kick in and say, hey, stupid. You got a life to live. You can't let this thing, control your life. Just because you like it, where are you going to be, 5 years from now? And so on and so on. I don't need to tell you the dialogue. You can make up your own. Okay? So that's what happens here. Okay, so Sheikh Sha'rawi says he's one of my favorite mufassirin, but he talks a lot. So like I've been studying Surah Al-Baqarah for the past 5 years and I'm not done. Just Surah Al-Baqarah. Imagine what's going to happen, I'll probably die before I finish. So Sheikh Sha'rawi says that the mind is a slave of the heart. In other words, it's really the decisions are made in the heart, not the mind. Until the heart gives the green light, nothing ever happens. Okay? All actions emanate from the heart. Until we feel right, nothing's done. Fear produces paralysis, confidence produces action. How much time do we have? About 15 minutes? Okay, let's see if we can do a couple more. Okay, the Quran says, hey, reflect. Reflect. But if you're not reflecting, is your heart lost? You see, we think of reading as a mental process. The Quran says, no, your heart is lost. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Why don't they contemplate or reflect on the Quran, or are their hearts locked? It doesn't say, their minds locked. You see? So, this is clear indication that the heart has got to be engaged with the mind. The mind alone is not going to give you the answer. It's the two of them working together in concert. Okay? Now we're done with all the inside stuff. Once you figure all this out, and hopefully you feel right, and you got willpower, and your mind, you got the cap, right? You got the K, you got the A, and now it's P time. Okay? Not P time, okay. So now you take action. What is action? That's when things start showing up on the outside. And until something shows up on the outside, again, you are nothing more than a legend in your own mind. You may have a great life. Has anybody ever read the Spanish classic Don Quixote with Cervantes? Okay, whatever. It's like Canterbury Tales. It's like one of those classics that nobody ever reads anymore. But it's about somebody who lived an imaginary life where he was a knight and he goes out there and fights battles and wins them and everything. It's is just a fable. It's one of those things. It's the very first book written in the Spanish language, by the way. And in English, it was which one? Does anybody know what's the first documented English piece of literature? Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. My pronunciation is not perfect, but who cares? I'm a father. Okay, so all right, we're gonna move on. So here's the interesting thing. When you take action, something amazing happens. By the way, Tony Robbins built his entire empire. Does anybody even can guess how much Tony Robbins makes? Doing exactly what I'm doing right now, talking to people, telling them to put their life together and to live a better life. More than 20 years ago, he was making $170 million a year. And you know what's the crux of his entire training program? The guy has a high school diploma. He doesn't even have a college education. He read 400 or 500 books about human psychology and what makes people tick and so on, mirrors, whatever, all kinds of stuff. Okay. So what do you think is the backbone of his entire training program? Go watch one of his tapes and you'll see. It's all about get off the couch and do something with your life. That's all there is to it. Get up and take action. Once you take action about whatever it is that you want to change or make or produce, once you take the first step, here's what happens. Something amazing happens. Boom. All of a sudden, your values may change. All of a sudden, your priorities may change. All of a sudden, your thoughts will change. So while you used to think that exercising is for the birds, you get on you get on the scale one day and voila, you lost 5 pounds. You're like, oh my God, this stuff works. Hey, we've been saying for years that it works. Yeah, but now you have the proof right there and then. Now what happens is, because you got results, nothing changes your mind, your heart, your focus, your priorities, your values. Nothing will change you more than some results. And what we used to do with salespeople, we used to sometimes fake results. We'll make them make calls, and then we'll have somebody call back and pretend that he's calling because this person called him. So it's like, oh my God, calling works. And we're like, yeah, it works. It's actually a call that came in on a sign on what's called floor time, which means there was nobody that should take that call, and we would take it and give it to that person and trick that person to think that it was their own word. But we would do that only once or twice just to convince them that it works, and then you leave them on their own. If that doesn't work, kick them out. Because nothing proves that stuff works better than results. That's basically it. Whether it's exercising, whether it's studying and passing a grade, whatever it is. Anything that you want to do it enough to get some results. Once you get results, it's like a big wheel. There's a book that I may have recommended to you by Good to Great by Collins. You guys seen it? Collins' book, it's a bestseller. Okay, Jim Collins says that in life, it feels sometimes like pushing a huge wheel that's like 10 stories high. And then you keep pushing, nothing's happening, then all of a sudden it goes like, and then starts moving. Just get out of its way. Because once it starts rolling, then it'll run you over. Just get out of its way. So the concept of the big wheel basically says that you put a lot of energy and it seems like nothing's happening, then all of a sudden it just picks up momentum and it starts happening on its own. And life in some ways is like that. Once you get some results, all of a sudden everything starts changing. You can try to change any one of these things. Usually leaders try to start here. The job of leaders, the definition of leadership is the ability to get people to think the way they need to think in order for them to do the things they need to do, in order for them to get the things they need to get. That's the definition of leadership. Let me repeat it. It's not written there, so try to catch it. Leadership is the ability to get people to think the way they need to think, in order for them to do the things they need to do, in order for them to get the things they need to get when they want to get it. So a leader with a schematic like this would be able to look and say, I don't know, I don't think I can change their values. I think their parents did a really lousy job, but it's too late to change it. They're too old to change their values. Is that a fair statement? Yes or no? If I'm an employer and somebody just came to me and that person is 46, you honestly think I have any chance of changing their values at that age? Say no.
No.
Yeah, that's a good answer. No, values are, yeah, folks, person's values are very much ingrained in them very, very early on. And only the work of God can change your values. I mean, just think of Umar ibn Khattab and stories like that. It could happen, but it's very difficult. And it's not up to you to change somebody's values. The moment you try, you know what we used to do when we used to hire people? We used to try to discover one thing. If they and us are a value match. If we're not, no chance. We won't even start. If we're a value match, we'll look at the next step. But if we're not a value match, if our values are misaligned, and I would say this to our young daughters and sons, when you get married, pay attention to that. See if this young person that you want to get married to has the same set of values. They may be prioritized a little differently, and that you can tweak. But if there is two different sets of values, if you value education and he believes that he should stay home and just raise babies, for instance. I'm saying it's right or wrong. I'm just describing something. I'm being descriptive. Are there men that wouldn't want their wife to get out of the house and work? Yes or no? Okay. And again, I'm not judging. Suppose the sister wants to go out there and study to the fullest potential. Want to be a PhD and teach in college and work and do all kinds of things. Is there a problem here? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is there anybody to blame? No, we're not casting judgment. We're just saying that they are not a value match. That's all we're saying. You understand what I'm saying here? And this is what we used to do in business. In business, we used to look at a business relationship almost like a marriage. I used to look at a person. If that person is a value match to what my values are in my company, there's something there. If we're not a value match, we're not even going to start. And by the way, when you interview for a job, trust me, many of the questions they'll be asking you while you're sitting in front of the interviewer is going to be to try to discover what your value set is. And they won't say, what are your values? They know, you'll know the trick. They'll probably be saying things to you like, so how do you spend your time? Knowing that the way you spend your time tells a lot about what your values are. So what's important in your life? They'll just throw questions like that seem very casual and may come even while you're having lunch or dinner with them. It may not even be during the actual interview. The real interview may take place while you're having breakfast, and you wouldn't even know. And a lot of people wonder, and they say, well, how is it that I can't get a job? Sometimes it's what you're saying, sometimes it's what you're not saying. You need some coaching there. Trust me, I know. I used to hire people like that. All right, so results. The Quran says that it's all about the work you do. Here's something I want to share with you. I mean, if you forget everything I'm teaching you today, I want you to remember this slide. I call this the ultimate formula for success. All right? If you want to succeed at the highest level in your life, 3 things you need to do. Actually 2. Find your passion. In an area where you could be number 1, hopefully, and watch the value come in like an avalanche. Let me translate. Do you have any idea how you would know? The ones who attended my workshop before, you're not allowed to answer. Okay, and I'm Sharif, okay. So everybody else is allowed to answer. How would you know that you have passion for something? First of all, what's passion? What's another word for passion? What's the Arabic word for passion? It appeared once in the Quran, Surah Yusuf. One word في سورة يوسف في وصف امرأة العزيز قال شغفها شغف. One word, 13. Shagaf means extreme love. Sheikh Sharawi described it as it's like claws that grip your heart and won't let go. Imagine something that holds on, that just grabs your heart and wants to rip it out. That's shagaf. Shagaf is like a cover. It's like a stiff cover that just takes a grip of your heart and won't let go. That's shagaf. That's passion. And I say to people, do you have any clue if you have passion for something? Let me tell you something. I have a sister who has a PhD in psychology. She works in California, originally from Detroit, but she works in California. And she's a high school guidance counselor. She called me up. She said, brother, I heard your lecture and I understand all about passion. Can you help me discover what my passion is? I don't even know what my passion is. You know what was my answer? And you probably have the same question on your mind. I said to her, when you have passion for something, you'll know it. You know how? You have any idea? Nobody has to tell you, you'll know it. Let me give you a clue. You'll find yourself spending time and energy extensively on that one thing, and you won't feel that you're paying any price. You'll spend hours and hours and hours and hours doing one thing. Doesn't feel like work, doesn't feel like you want to stop, and you just all immersed into it, and it doesn't feel like work, and you could do it, you could pay to do it. And you'll still do it and do more of it. That's passion. At one point in my life, I was reading. At a young age, when I was like 10 years old, I was reading Tolstoy and War and Peace and stuff like that. And people my age, they were reading Superman and this man and that man and Batman. Classmates of mine, they were reading little comic books, and I'm reading like War and Peace. You know, I'm reading. Dante's Inferno, and all these heavy English and Russian literature, and one after the other. I'll read 1,000 pages like in one setting. Okay, that's passion. What's your passion? And to this day, I read at least a couple hundred pages a day. I carry a book with me everywhere. I have thousands of books on my iPad. I'm constantly jumping from one book to the other. When I read a book, I go get the entire bib of the book and I read that. Have you ever looked at the back of the book, whatever book you have, a textbook? How many pages is the bib? You know what a bib is, right? Yeah. Huh? Does anybody not know what it is? It's all the references that the author used. And they usually, they would write, so-and-so 2002. So that would be a book. And you go to the back and you see Ackerman, and it's 2002, and it's this and that and that. And there's the name of the book. So I would go on Amazon and order it. But I won't push order. I would just keep piling them up, and there's like 25 of them. Then in one shot, I push a button, and I get billed $300. And then the next day, the mailman shows up with a truck full of books. And that's every day. What do you call that? What do you think that is? But if that's my worst vice, do you think my wife can put up with that? Yes or no? She gave me one room in the house. She said, that's all you're going to get. You can have as many books as you want. I don't care if you don't even have a place for a footstep. Doesn't matter. That's your room. You're not allowed to take another book outside of that room. And I'm happy with that. Okay? Cut down from 3 rooms to 1 room. My point is, what are you passionate about? Once you discover what that is, then ask yourself, am I good at it? Because having passion for something, like the kid that dribbles ball every day, but then when it comes to the game, he sucks. That's not going to be the next Michael Jordan. I don't care if you live in Chicago. It's not enough. Okay? You have to be really good. So I see a lot of kids that say, oh, I'm passionate about games. I'm passionate about whatever. And one time I said, there's got to be value. And one yeah, there's value. This guy did Candy Crush and he made so many thousand. I'm like, go do a Candy Crush and get it over with. How many people actually get to do a Candy Crush or whatever one of those games and make millions? You guys know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Okay. So my point is, if you want to have a passion, if you want to really work this formula, it's not enough to love something to death. You better be good at it. Good like great, not good like average. I'm talking about really, really good, like #1 somewhere in Chicago or New Jersey or something, at least. So one kid complained to his mother. He said, I have to be #1. I'm #2. Does that mean I'll never succeed? He said, no, you'll succeed, but there's somebody whose success will be bigger than yours. It's that simple. That would be #1. And he's like, okay. So this is not to discourage anybody. All I'm saying is, if you really, really want to reach the top, to the stratosphere, then you've got to have 3. The third one is value. In other words, there has to be value, either intrinsic value in what you're doing, something that's already there, or value that shows up. Like, was there value in Facebook before it was discovered? Did anybody know there's going to be what we see now? No, it may have been perceived value in somebody's head. Same thing with Google, same thing with all these things. These are values that showed up. So sometimes the value shows up, sometimes it's there. An example of it being there is digging wells in Africa to make sure that people drink clean water. Is that value, yes or no?
Yes.
So value doesn't have to be money all the time. Could it be something other than money? When Sheikh Abdurrahman Smith, Dr. Abdurrahman Smith goes to Africa, and over his career of 30 years, may God have mercy on his soul, he just passed away. Abdurrahman Smith made sure that he built more than 400 schools and hospitals and mosques and whatever institutions all over Africa in 30 years that he and his wife served there. Most people don't even know who he is, but he had passion to serve and to do good, and he used his talent, he used everything that he could to get that done. So this is the ultimate formula. Try to find what your passion is for your own sake, and if you don't have one, keep looking. You'll stumble upon it one day, don't let go, okay? And get really good at it and watch things happen. So, I think we're done. The results usually become habits, because when you get results, you feel good. Watch this, this is really cool. When you get results, you see this arrow? It says that you feel good. Do you feel good when you get results, yes or no?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, results, is results always positive?
No.
Does it have to be good? Could it be good or bad? Even when it's bad, when things really bad, things really happen, is that bad? Come on, guys.
No.
Why not? What happens? Yeah, you know that John Maxwell has a book called Failing Forward? And he says you don't succeed your way to success, you fail your way to success. You know that when you fail, you actually grow. And if you always succeed, you're probably like a ship in the harbor. Can you fall off the rock? If you sat on the floor, can you fall off? That's the safest place to be. You never have any problem. You'll always be safe. And that's how a lot of people live their life. They never venture out. So what winds up happening is when you get results, it makes you feel good, and then it makes you take more action, and it makes you get more results, and you get into a loop. This here is an amazing loop that can last for a long time until it becomes a habit. Once it becomes a habit, you become known by it. I'm going to skip over this, so you can read it later on. Habits. I'm just giving examples of habits and disciplines and how they're related. Ultimately, what you want is to collect habits together to create a discipline. A health discipline means that you eat good, you exercise, and you manage your stress. Okay? All three of them are habits, but one habit alone doesn't do much. So sometimes you have to have other supplemental habits that can work together with one. So if you eat healthy but you don't exercise, that's not a discipline, that's just a habit. If you eat healthy and you exercise, but you may be all stressed out and having a stroke just from being always stressed and tense, so you need to relieve your stress. So sometimes you gotta combine habits together to create a discipline. I'm gonna stop here and see if you guys have any questions. If you don't have any question, let me get out of here and go eat some more deep dish pizza. There's a question here. It says, how did your passion for reading get aligned to this? In other words, to what I'm doing now? What do you do right now? That's a good question. What I do right now, I talk. Now, what I do right now is, I went back to graduate school. I do a lot of things, okay? I play with my grandchildren. That's the most important part of my day. I take care of my wife, try to help my kids raise their kids. But I also go to school. Believe it or not, I'm doing some graduate work, research in the area of social psychology, social epistemology basically, but I'm digging into research design, trying to figure out how we humans think. I feel that our community is a big black box that we need to get in and see what's going on in our heads and in our minds and in our midst. And I think we're a big secret to our own self. So I want to spend the next few years of my life trying to get to know more about our community so that we can design good solutions to uplift our community and be good citizens and make a difference in the world the way our ancestors did one day. You think that's a good goal to follow? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And most of my studies and research is in that area. I'm probably going to be doing it for the next 5-6 years. After that, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive, so I'm going to take it 5 years at a time. Okay? Does that answer your question? Yeah, any other questions? Let's all listen, please. Yeah, go ahead.
What's your advice about focus?
About focus?
Yeah.
One thing, focus definitely is one tough thing. There are literally books written on focus. There's a book by Jack Canfield. The title is Focus, just the one word. Focus, the tricky thing about focus is that it requires something that a lot of us don't have, which is willpower. Willpower, al-irada. Al-irada, willpower. It requires some inner strength. It requires the ability to say no. What is the opposite of focus? فوكس تركيز ماشي شو عكس التركيز؟ التشعب التشعب فيه همومه لا يبالي الله بأي واد هلك ولا لا؟ التشعب is like branching out. Focus is like laser, it cuts steel. Huh? But then when a beam of light it just lights the room, but it doesn't cut anything. But when you focus it as a laser beam, it cuts steel. So if you want to be effective, you want to be focused. And here's the thing. A lot of you, when you hear me say focus, focus, you think that I'm talking about you like being really obnoxious and always like tense and always like, worried about every minute and everything. There are people that really, like I know one guy who used to buy 2 cups of coffee and like he would be drinking from one. So, and by the time like he's done with the first one, the other one is cooler. So now he can drink the other one without having to wait for it. I'm like, this is crazy. This is not focus, this is insanity. Focus, all you need to do is be focused for that part of the day when you need to be productive. The rest of the day you can goof off as much as you want. You understand? You don't need to be focused 24/7. Nobody can do that. There's no such thing. Guys, you hear people say things like I want to have a balanced life. You ever hear your parents say that? I want to have a balanced life. Well, what is that? What's a balance? You know what's a balanced life? A balanced life is like passing by the checkout counter at the supermarket, looking at a bar of chocolate, like Hershey's or whatever, like for 20 years, and every time you say, no, that's bad for me. That's discipline. Heck with that. I want to be able to grab one milk and stuff my mouth and then just go get on the treadmill and lose it off. What's the big deal? So people who describe life balance, they describe it like somebody who passes by a chocolate bar for 20, 30 years and never dares to grab it and stuff their mouth and then say astaghfirullah and then move on with their life. There's no such thing as balance. Here's what there is. There's an illusion of balance. And it's the result of you not waiting too long before you micro counterbalance. In other words, you have a flat tire, you fix it right away. Life is full of flat tires. You know what a flat tire is? Do you have a car? And sometimes they go, and like you find yourself, the car's done big, right? So what do? Do you keep driving and say, oh, it won't be a big deal? Or do you pull up at a gas station and fix it, right? Now, sometimes there are some people that actually have an indicator that says, hey, you're low on pressure. Like the car that I just sold, had that. The new one is cheap, doesn't have that. So anyway, so you look at it, it says one says 45, and then 32, and then 27. Oh my God, I'm losing air. So I would walk in, and I would pump air, or I would get it checked out, whatever. That's what looks like balance. People think oh, this guy has perfect cars. His cars never lose air. They don't have flat tires. No, they do, but I fixed them before you notice, you idiot. You say, and you think that I have balance. I don't have balance. I just fix it right away. So people who appear to have balance really are nothing more than people who don't wait too long before they micro-counterbalance. In other words, they counterbalance, they fix things that are broken too quick for you to notice that they were broken in the first place. How's that for balance? Life is like that. Focus is the same way. People who see you focused think you're always focused. What they don't know is that you goof off 80% of the time, so that for 20% of the day, you are focused enough to get 90% of what you need done and out of the way, so that you can earn the right to go out there and goof off for the rest of the day and not worry about focus. Does that make sense? That's what it is. You don't have to be focused all day long. You don't have to be religious all day long. You don't have to pray all day long. You don't have to fast all day long. None of these things, even our duties to God, are limited for a short period of time. There's maqam al-kamal and there's maqam al-jaza. There's a place where you satisfy the minimum requirement. There's a place where you can go to perfection. Not everybody is required to go to perfection. but you're required to at least do the fard, at least the 5 prayers a day. Once you're done with them, some people will go the extra and do the sunnah, some will go do extra, some will do more and more. Everybody's different. That's focus. Focus is like that. And all you need is the minimum, al-fard. Just enough to get your homework done, and to get your work done, and to get your relationship happy with your mother, your sister, and whoever you're supposed to call and say, "How you doing, Mom?" All these little things, just get them out of the way, and then go out there and go for as much as you want. And everybody will think you're perfect. Yeah. But the important thing is that you think you're perfect, because that's all that counts at the end of the day. Any other questions? That's it? You guys are smart. Picked it all up like 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm done.
One quick announcement regarding that. First of all, Bilal is the MC, so he's going to close up. But we have, so Sister Amal Ali specifically asked me to advertise this Humanity Time. You all should have these little handles. It's an amazing event, happened 2 years ago, I remember, and it was so wonderful, and the house was packed. It's featuring Suhaib Web, Abdi Phenomenal, Mustafa the Poet, Amal Kasser, Kumba, Links, Dawood Hornsby, Ali, they'll all be there. And what this event is, how she described it essentially, is to extract that compassion within every single one of us. We know compassion towards humanity. We oftentimes get so caught up with everything we're doing, and we forget to take care of each other and of the human spirit. And so this is what this event is geared towards, to help us elicit that and then practice it in our own lives. And there will be tables and booths set up with different organizations that, they provide human services where you can register, you can sign up, you can volunteer to bring that project to your home, to your local community, to your school, whatever it is. So this is what that event is. The description is pretty awesome, the flyer is awesome, and this is next Sunday, inshallah. So Habib will be there amongst many other wonderful people. So that's my little, spiel. And why do you have something else? Oh, also, yeah, you can't forget, mass convention. So how many people here have attended the mass convention before? Raise your hand. Okay, that's very few of us. Mass convention is amazing. It is in December this year, December 25th until the 28th. And 26th until the 28th, my apologies. And it will be in the McCormick this year. It's pretty amazing, so many speakers. I can go on for years about mass. I want to talk about it?
What?
About mass and the convention.
Well, I can talk about my part. I don't know about everybody else.
Well,
it's going to be a lot of talk, but my part is going to be focused. It's going to be almost an entire day workshop with community leaders on how to build their organizations and make them run better. So if you are involved in any kind